Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by a Jen, covering chapters 56 through 60. Su Ming's actions in the previous high-stakes event have cemented his place as a force to be reckoned with in the South Morning. This segment focuses on the fallout of his success, where he must skillfully manage new rivals, potential allies, and the intense political maneuvers of the region's top sects. His secrecy is harder than ever to maintain, and the true purpose of the ancient artifact he sought begins to tie directly into the grand cosmic truth he is pursuing. Prepare for political intrigue and deepening mystery. Chapter 56. The night was his. Su Ming sat on the 79th step. He looked around him, and especially at the moon in the sky. There was still some time left before midnight. Even so, night was a comfortable moment for him. Ever since he started training in the fire Berserker art, Su Ming fell in love with the night. He especially looked forward to the nights when the moon was full. Yet ever since Su Ming started practicing the fire Berserker art, he had never seen the full moon. It may have appeared once, but the moon was covered by dark clouds that day. He could feel restlessness in his body when he was in the fire cave, but there was not much change within him in the end. Su Ming had analyzed it himself. If the moon had not been covered by dark clouds that day, then he may have had some obvious changes. It was a pity that today was not a full moon either, but Su Ming still felt at ease. At the same time, as the pressure increased with each step he took, the pressure also increased as the moon rose into the sky. The elder of Wind Stream tribe did mention that pressure in the mountain would increase at night. Looks like it's true. Su Ming smiled. He was not bothered by it. To him, as the pressure at night increased, it meant that his power would reach its peak. Su Ming was much more terrifying at night than he was at day. Su Ming averted his gaze from the moon and sat down cross-legged on the 79th step. He took a deep breath and began to quietly feel the difference in this place. It was just as he expected. This was the second place on the stairs where the pressure was balanced. The pressure may be balanced, but it was still much stronger than the pressure on the 32nd step. This place was extremely suitable for him to continue controlling the qi in his body to a profound state and control the amount of blood veins he wanted to manifest on his body to extreme precision. As of then, Su Ming also knew that the additional 3 blood veins that manifested when he walked to the 79th step were due to him being able to control the qi in his body to extreme precision. Just one more, and he would be able to reach the 5th level of the blood solidification realm. This made Su Ming extremely excited with the prospect of just how many blood veins he would be able to manifest once the 79th step was no longer enough for his training and he would have to go higher. Su Ming slowly closed his eyes and began circulating his qi around his body. Once again, he entered into the fine state of controlling his qi and tried to control the speed of his qi reverting into his body, making it slow down according to his will. As time passed by, the 52 blood veins on his body gradually began to reduce at a steady rate from the erratic pace when he first started training at the 79th step as he began to get used to the state. Slowly, he began approaching his previous limit at the 32nd step, but now that he had 3 extra blood veins on his body, there were still 40 blood veins left on his body as the blood veins disappeared one by one. Su Ming was calm. There was not a shred of anxiety on him. He slowly circulated his qi and focused on exercising fine control. Very soon, 2 hours passed by. At that moment, many people had already stopped moving forward in the mountain. They chose to sit down cross-legged on one of the steps to train and observe the rankings on the plate in their hands. They were also waiting for daylight to arrive so that they could continue competing against each other. Wu Sen panted harshly. His face was pale. After he gritted his teeth and arrived at the 295th step, he finally caved under the pressure and sat by the side. His face was dark. As he looked at the mist, there was uncertainty in his eyes. My blood of corpses. Sheet. That person stole my blood. Without it, not only will I be unable to use my powers accurately, I'll also weaken rapidly. I can already feel myself becoming weaker. I cannot let the elder know about this. If he learns that I lost my blood, then even if he helps me retrieve it, I'll lose my value in his eyes. Once he thought of the horrific consequences, Wu Sen clenched his fists. There was a hint of fear under the layer of uncertainty in his eyes as well. I definitely can't let other people know about this, especially the people who offered me their corpse blood in the past. I've been oppressing them these past few years because I was strong and my status in the tribe was high. If they knew that I lost the blood of corpses, they'll immediately betray me. What should I do? What should I do? Wu Sen's face was vicious as he gritted his teeth. Still, there was uncertainty on his features. Chen Chong was panting harshly. He was mumbling under his breath as he walked. When he looked at the brightening moon in the sky despite it being covered by mist, he wanted to rest and wait for tomorrow. Yet the moment he looked at the rankings on the plate in his hands and saw that the person called by Su had surpassed him by 2 steps, he felt challenged. You bastard! I won't take this lying down. Chen Chong gritted his teeth and continued walking. At the same time, Bai Su from Black Mountain Tribe was also panting harshly as he looked at the plate in his hands and continued walking despite the increasing pressure brought by the moon. It was as if he was competing with Chen Chong and was forcing himself to continue climbing the steps. It was not until an hour later that Chen Chong let out a huge roar and sat down by the side with his legs trembling. He growled a few times at the quiet mist around him. Go! Go on ahead. You bastard, I won't compete with you today anymore. I'll do it tomorrow. Perhaps Bai Su felt it, because after he took a few more steps, he flopped onto the ground. Yet when he looked at his rank, there was a dark smile on his lips. Lei Chen was sitting somewhere around the 130th step with extreme unwillingness and was panting heavily. Many people had already stopped, but there was one person who kept moving forward. 563. 567. 572. Yi Wang is actually walking during midnight. The second place is Bai Su. He only took 397 steps, but Yi Wang is already up to 500-something steps. Could he be ignoring the stronger pressure at night and wanting to continue walking? As expected of the strongest among the younger generation, that perseverance of his is not something the others can compare. The few hundred people in the field were all staring at the rankings on the eagle statues. Right now, the only number of steps that was changing on the board belonged to the person at first place. The others who were partaking in the first stage of the test had all stopped. 587. 589. It changed again. This time it's 595. The field was in an uproar. Everyone's attention was focused on the first place. Even the leaders from other tribes were also sighing in respect for Yi Wang. Mo sang, "My tribe's Yi Wang has really high potential. How is he compared to you?" The elder of Windstream tribe, Jing Nan, smiled as he looked at the ranks on the statue and spoke slowly. Mo Sang was calm as he smiled. Not bad. Jing Nan smiled, but he no longer talked about it. At that moment, Yi Wang's gaze was firm as he continued walking forward with his hands behind his back despite the sweat pouring down his forehead. Every single step he took was hard, but he did not hesitate. He only stopped when he reached the 600th step. There was a smile on his face as he sat down by the side. The last time I was here, I went up to 580 steps on the first night. This time, I surpassed myself by 20 steps. That's good enough. I wonder if there's anyone who'll be able to find the test at the 562nd step. Still, I'm pretty sure it'll be same as last time. No one will have the right to experience the test at the 562nd step. While mumbling under his breath, there was a prideful look on his face that could not be concealed. The 562nd step was a trap. He failed it when he arrived at that place the first time he took the test and only succeeded the second time. It was now his third time, and he no longer paid too much attention to it. To him, there was no one among the people taking the test who could hope to compete with him. There was no one who had the right to obtain his attention, either. He had been looking at the plate the entire day as well. However, he was not comparing his score with the other competitors but with himself. Once he stopped, sounds of discussion arose continuously in the field outside. In their sights, once Yi Wang stopped, the competition for the day had also halted completely. After that, they would have to wait for the next day for the next round. The first is Yi Wang, second is Bai Su, third is Chen Chong, 12th is Wu Sen. Until now, there's only one outsider among the top 10 ranks, the others are all from Windstream tribe. But the 48th place is Bei Ling, and the 49th place is Sai Kong. They're also outsiders. I wonder whether those two will be able to maintain their rank in the top 50 tomorrow. After all, today is only the first day. The key that decides the results of the competition is tomorrow. Just where did Bai Su come from? That's a shocking result he has. He's in second place. He even topped Chen Chong. This person will be a famous berserker in the future. It hasn't ended yet. Something unexpected might happen. The buzzing sounds of discussion gradually died down. The hundreds of people on the field sat down cross-legged and waited for the second day to arrive. Gradually, the only sounds within the field that could be heard were ones of breathing. Mo sang, "Let's go back to the tribe together and continue playing chess. We'll see whether your Su Ming can reach the top 50 tomorrow." Jing Nan smiled and looked at Mo Sang. Mo Sang did not speak, but looked at Su Ming's name on the eagle statue instead. His rank had fallen from 120 to 123. He nodded his head. Just as they were about to leave, the elder's pupils shrank as he saw something at that moment. Very soon, some of the people on the field who had yet to rest and were still looking at the ranking board occasionally let out surprised cries. He moved. That person called Mo Su moved. That surprised cry immediately led those who had already closed their eyes to open them once more instinctively and look over. When they saw it, there was amazement on their faces. Jing Nan, who was about to leave, stopped. He, too, turned over and stared at the statue. He was not the only one. All the people on the field, including Dark Dragon Tribe's elder, Black Mountain Tribe's leader, and the leaders from other tribes, looked over. After all, everyone who was partaking in the test had already stopped moving that night. The sudden rise in the ranks by that one person was incredibly eye-catching. Deep in the mountains, Su Ming, who was sitting and meditating on the 79th step, suddenly opened his eyes. His control over the reduction of the blood veins in his body stopped at the 28th blood vein. That was his limit. He could no longer continue. This time, it was much easier and smoother than before. The time he spent was also much shorter. The reason was because it was night. There was a faint hint of the red moon in Su Ming's eyes as he sat under the moonlight. He slowly stood up and looked at the winding staircase. A bright flash appeared briefly in his eyes. The next place, Su Ming lifted his right foot. Under the moonlight, there was no other person who would dare continue walking up the mountain besides him, be it Chen Chong, Bai Su, or even Yi Wang. No one else dared to continue moving forward. Only he, Su Ming, pressed on. The night was his. Chapter 57. The fifth level of the blood solidification realm. There was brightness in Su Ming's eyes. Under the moonlight, when no one dared to move an inch in the mountain, he welcomed the incredible pressure brought by the mountain and walked forwards one step at a time. 80th step, 81st, 82 ND. The pressure in the mountain during midnight was much stronger than in the day, and it became even more startling the higher he climbed. The moon shone brightly in the sky, and nothing seemed out of place. Yet it was precisely because it was night, and the night belonged to Su Ming, that as he walked, fine threads of moonlight that were unnoticeable fell onto the land and fused with Su Ming's body, causing the faint shadow of the moon in his eyes to become clearer. Slivers of cold circulated in Su Ming's body, causing the speed of his footsteps to increase as he continued walking. 87, 88, 93. Very soon, Su Ming arrived at the 99th step. Just as his right foot landed on the step, Su Ming trembled. Waves of heat caused by his qi erupted forth from his body, making him shake slightly. Immediately, 52 blood veins appeared on his body. The blood veins seemed to twist around to form a strange picture. Su Ming stopped and roared towards the heavens. The sound was not loud, and it only echoed around his surroundings. Nonetheless, the 53rd blood vein manifested suddenly on his body. The appearance of that blood vein meant that Su Ming broke through the 4th level of the blood solidification realm and reached the 5th level. There was a muffled sound of thunder roaring within his body at that moment, and the sound echoed in his surroundings, causing a string of booming noises. Yet the sound seemed to be swallowed by the black mist by his side, and he did not know where the sounds went. The moment Su Ming broke through the 4th level of the blood solidification realm and reached the 5th, on another stairway nearby was Chen Chong, who was sitting down exhausted as he was mumbling under his breath and was about to rest. His body suddenly jolted due to shock, and he looked at the black mist by his side instinctively. There was a muffled booming sound echoing in his ears. It was a sound he was familiar with. This is... Damn it! Someone actually managed to break through in this place. Chen Chong was stunned momentarily, and disbelief filled his eyes. The flesh on his face trembled. He had never heard of anyone who managed to break through and reach the next level in the first stage of the test. This was the first time it happened. He rubbed his eyes with force, then, when he felt that there was something wrong with his actions, he immediately changed to rubbing his ears. He turned his head to listen carefully, and his ears moved strangely before they turned red in the blink of an eye. Chen Chong had been blessed with great talent, and his hearing was especially good. Even if the distance was great and no one else could hear a thing, he could still hear clearly. This was something he was used to since he was young. Now that his powers increased the higher he was in the blood solidification realm, he became even more proud of himself. As he listened, bitterness appeared on Chen Chong's face. He also felt indignant. Damn it! Just what sort of luck is this? How could he break through here, of all places? God, why didn't this happen to me? Chen Chong lamented as if he was extremely jealous. Most of the other people besides Chen Chong, who had exceptionally good hearing, did not notice the muffled boom in the air. The only other person who noticed was Black Mountain Tribes by Su, who was extremely close to Su Ming. He was sitting somewhere above Su Ming when he opened his eyes abruptly. He looked surprised as he turned and looked at the mist behind him. Someone broke through to a new level. Bai Su's face was dark. He remembered hearing the sound of blood veins increasing on a person some time ago. Once he connected the dots, there was a flash in his eyes, but he was not too bothered by it. He took out the plate and looked at the change in the rankings. With just one glance, he saw a name suddenly rising through the ranks rapidly as everyone else was staying put. At that moment, there was an uproar in the field outside the mountain due to Su Ming's actions. Almost everyone's focus was on the one line belonging to Mo Su on the ranking board on the eagle statues. In the past, everyone would choose to rest during the night for the first stage of the test. It was the action chosen by those within the mountains, and it was the same in the field. Yet this night was different from those of the past. All of this was because there was a name rapidly rising up the ranks at that moment. He moved 99 steps. He moved from 79 steps to 99 steps. That person has been like that since the beginning. Once he rested enough, he'll start climbing at a mad pace. He's Mo Su. I remember him. He was in the last place previously, then suddenly rushed forward with an explosive force and went up to the 119th place before he stopped. He fell to the 123rd place after that. Look, he's now ranked 113th. No, 109th. 101st. He's ranked 101st now. He's good. Ha ha. I didn't expect to see such a thing tonight. Very well, let's see just how far that Mo Su can go. There were multiple discussions as the field went into an uproar. It was even livelier than it was during the day. The people who did not bother looking at the names after the 100th were also looking with their eyes wide open. In the previous tests, almost no one would pay too much attention to those placed at the bottom. Their attention would usually be on the top 50 ranks, or even fixed at the top 30 ranks up till the top 10. Some would even only look at the top 3. But it was different this time. A situation that was rarely seen brought about talk among the people in the field. Yet as they talked among themselves with excitement, keeping their eyes glued to the ranking board, they did not put much importance on it. To them, that young man called Mo Su just found a way to spend his time while everyone else taking part in the test was resting. Once daylight arrived and all the contestants started moving once more, they would automatically ignore Mo Su. After all, Mo Su could not hope to compare with the prodigies no matter how high his rank or how many steps he took. At that moment, Su Ming's actions also caught the attention of most of the contestants on the mountain. Most of them were resting as they looked at the plates in their hands. The ones who were placed at the lower end of the ranks were especially nervous, but those who were placed higher up just took a look at it and no longer paid attention to it. Wu La was very nervous. She was sitting at the 112nd step as she widened her eyes and stared at the plate. She took special notice of the person called Mo Su because that person had managed to climb up many ranks from the last place in one go, and it made Wu La feel extremely stressed. I've worked hard for the entire day to make it to here and finally managed to get into the top 100. That damn Mo Su. Just who is he? How could he do this? Everyone is resting right now, and the pressure has increased due to the night. Why is he doing this? Wu La gritted her teeth due to her anxiety and grievance. But after a moment, Mo Su stopped moving up the ranks once he was at the 101st place as if he had stopped moving. Wu La let out a sigh of relief. He's at his limit. Lei Chen was sitting down cross-legged at the 135th step and looking at the plate in his hands. He was also looking at Mo Su's name, but there was a different look in his eyes. It was as if he was deep in thought. At the same time, Bei Ling, who was sitting at the 206th step, was also looking at the ranks on his plate, but he did not pay much attention to it. To him, that person was just trying to get attention. He did not move during the day but only moved at night. What else could he be doing besides trying to get attention? Such a cheap trick. Bei Ling smiled coldly. Situated somewhere around the 200th step, but at a location lower than Bei Ling, was Sai Kong from Dark Dragon Tribe. He was frowning. He had been looking at the plate multiple times during the day and was searching for Su Ming's name, but he could not find it. He automatically ignored Mo Su's name climbing up the ranks. To him, Su Ming's rank should be around his. There was no way he could be in the hundreds. If that was really the case, then he would find it hard to accept that he lost to a weakling. On another staircase was Bai Ling, who was sitting somewhere around the 130th step. She lifted her head and looked at the moon. She did not look at the ranks. There was uncertainty on her face as she thought about something. The people on the field waited for a while. When they saw that Mo Su was stuck at the 101st place, they became disappointed but were also not too bothered by it, as if they expected that to happen. The leaders of the tribes averted their gazes and no longer looked at the ranks. The old woman in Dark Dragon Tribe closed her eyes slowly. She never looked at the ranks since the beginning, as if she was never interested in them in the first place. There was a mocking smile on Black Mountain Tribe's tribe leader. The only person he was paying attention to was Bai Su. If there was anyone else worth his attention, then it would be Yi Wang. To him, the only person who could be Bai Su's opponent was Yi Wang. Once they saw that there was no change in Mo Su's rank after a while, the sounds of discussion gradually disappeared in the field. It's clear that that person accumulated his strength and chose to move when no one else was moving. He must know that he won't get much attention otherwise and is using this method to gain some fame. That's right. That's a good move though. At the very least, I remember him now. I'd like to see how he looks like. Forget it. Let's go rest. Tomorrow is the main event. The top 50 ranks might change. Ah, he's moving. He's moving. Just as the excitement from before was about to completely die down, a surprised cry echoed through the surroundings. Mo Su's rank climbed up once again. The number of steps behind his name was also rising up at an unbelievable pace. 100 steps. 103, 107, 112. Chapter 58. Do you believe it? Su Ming started moving again. He lifted his foot and placed it on the 100th step. He stayed on the 99th step for a long time before because the moment the 53rd blood vein manifested, the qi in his body started churning madly and surrounded his body. He needed to get used to the sudden explosive appearance of the blood vein before he could continue onwards. After all, the manifestation of that blood vein meant that he reached a breakthrough. It was not just some normal manifestation of a new blood vein. Once he started moving, Su Ming rushed forward abruptly. His body seemed to continue absorbing the moonlight as he pressed onwards. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 115th step. He did not stop. As he felt the pressure of the mountain increasing on him, Su Ming rushed forward. 120 steps, 130 steps, 150 steps, 160 steps. Within the span of a few breaths, Su Ming took about 60 steps. When he was standing at the 160th step, Su Ming suddenly felt as if there was an abrupt increase in pressure from the mountain. It was as if a sudden force erupted forth and pressed onto his body. Yet at that moment, the bright moonlight surrounded Su Ming's entire body, causing his tied-up hair to move on its own under the moonlight. It would have been fine if he did not move, but now that he did, half of the people in the mountain and the entire field outside fell into dead silence. Wu La was stunned momentarily. She had been worried about her own ranking. She originally felt affronted and defensive, but now, as she was stunned, the complicated feeling she had disappeared completely. She understood then that she was not at the same level as the other person. If they were not even in the same level, then why should she compare herself to him? If she did, then she would just be embarrassing herself, nothing more. Lei Chen stood up abruptly and stared dumbly at the plate in his hands. He had been trying to guess the identity behind the person called Mo Su, but now, he was beginning to doubt his own guess. He could not say for sure whether what he had been thinking was correct. Bei Ling glared at the plate in his hands as his heart pounded against his chest. There was a brief moment where he felt as if a chill crawled down his spine as he watched the person called Mo Su climb up 60 steps within the span of a few breaths. That speed was unbelievable and he almost forgot to breathe because of it. He originally thought that the person was just trying to gain attention. That was why he chose to travel at night. Yet as he looked at it, there was no way Mo Su was doing it to gain attention. It was clear that he had the ability to do so since the beginning. If that was not the case, it would have been impossible for him to climb up 60 steps within the span of a few breaths. The entire mountain was in silence. Within that silence, Chen Chong blinked rapidly. He did not want to be bothered by it, but his instincts told him that that person called Mo Su was the one who brought about the sudden roar just now. It should be him. It should be. But just who is he? He's not from Windstream Tribe, that's for sure. I wonder whether I saw him on the field just now. Chen Chong still did not know that while he was still on the field surrounded by people, there was one person whose smile was extremely faint as he stood among the crowd trying to get into his circle of friends by laughing. He was of average looks, so average that people would not notice him. That person was looking at Chen Chong as he laughed and chatted with his friends, surrounded and practically worshipped by the people around him, and watched as he walked towards Bai Ling. Just as Chen Chong was troubled by his thoughts, Bai Su widened his eyes where he sat on the stairway closest to Su Ming. It was as if he was trying to see through the mist and look at the person who was walking on the stairway right beside his. Bai Su was different from Chen Chong. He was too close. He could practically tell that the person called Mo Su was very close to him, and he was right behind him on the other stairway covered by mist. He's just at the 160th step, though. There's still more than twice the distance between us. He's of no threat to me. If you can come close to me, then it'll be not too late for me to pay attention to your existence. As Bai Su thought about it, he smiled coldly and closed his eyes. On another stairway on the other side of the mountain, Wu Sen stared at the ranks on the plate with a dark face. His gaze stayed especially long on Bai Su and Mo Su's names. I'm at the 12th place and only at the 295th step. I won't be able to get into the top 10. I can tell that I'm getting weaker. The person who stole my blood must be one of these two. Wu Sen was not stupid. He was, in fact, very intelligent, or else he would not have been able to maintain a relatively high position within the tribe, which was filled with strife and confrontations, much less control Bei Ling and the others. Bai Su. Wu Sen's eyes swept past Mo Su's name, and he stared at Bai Su's name, who was ranked second on the plate with a vicious look in his eyes. Even so, there was a hint of fear and caution hidden deep within that viciousness. Wu Sen had no confidence that he could snatch back his blood from a person ranked second in this test. Sai Kong was nervous. As of then, his demeanor was similar to how Wu La had acted before. When he looked at ranks and at Mo Su's name, who was at the 160th step, his heart pounded against his chest. He was afraid that he would be overtaken. He would not be so worried if it was daylight, but it was night time now. He had no confidence to continue onward. Besides, he was currently ranked 49th. Once he was overtaken, then he would be placed at the 50th spot. It may seem like it was just small difference, but the meaning within the rank was completely different. Besides them, Almost everyone taking part in the test had their eyes fixed on Mo Su's name on their ranking plates. Only Yi Wang never looked at the plate. It was not as if he did not know about what was happening. It was just that with his personality, even if he knew, he would not pay attention to it. However, the field was even quieter compared to the silence in the mountain. It was as if even breathing was halted, and the field was enveloped in dead silence. The force that was halting the people's breathing on the field was their own shock, which stemmed from the one name they were all looking at on the ranks shown on the eagle statues. 63rd, Mo Su, 160 steps. After the sudden explosive increase in steps, many among them no longer treated Mo Su as an entertainment to pass time. They were regarding that name with importance because the sudden increase of 60 steps caused them to be in shock and disbelief. If it was during the day, then perhaps they would be just shocked, but it was night. It was night, when the pressure in the mountain was 100 times stronger than during the day. Most of them believed that if he could take 60 steps within the span of a few breaths during night, then that number would increase by several folds during the day. There were few who could do what Mo Su did among all those participating in the test. Just, who is he? Mo Su. Mo Su. I just did a calculation. He went from 99 steps to 160 steps within less than 10 breaths. This is unbelievable. His rank went up from 101 to 62 within the blink of an eye. This person, if he had this sort of ability, then if he did what he just did during the day, he would have gotten into the top 30 ranks. Why is he doing this at night? After a long while, sounds of discussion gradually rose within the field, and they grew stronger by the moment. Even the leaders from other tribes were also looking at the ranks. However, the old woman from Dark Dragon Tribe and the tribe leader of Black Mountain Tribe still paid no attention to it. That night was bound to be different. On that night, all attention was bound to belong to one person, Su Ming. There was a faint smile on Mo Sang's lips as he looked at the ranks on the eagle statue. The expectation within him became stronger. He knew that Su Ming had completely understood the meaning behind the 6 numbers. As for Jing Nan, he looked calm as he stood beside Mo Sang. There was no changes whatsoever on his face. If he could not hide his emotions, then he would not have been able to obtain his current power and status. Not bad, Mo Sang. You taught the child you brought back well. Honestly, I've always been curious about his birth. Jing Nan smiled as he looked at Mo Sang. Curious? Would you believe me if I told you he was the prince of the Great Yu dynasty? Mo Sang looked at Jing Nan and smiled as he spoke. Jing Nan could not tell whether he was lying from his demeanor. Perhaps Mo Sang would forever be the only one who knew the secret to Su Ming's birth. Why don't you just say he's the son of the god of Berserkers? Interesting. How interesting. Jing Nan was momentarily stunned, then he started laughing out loud. Perhaps he might be. Mo Sang smiled as he spoke. Jing Nan laughed, but in his heart, he was shocked. He was not sure whether he should believe in Mo Sang's words. He did not like that thought. For all the years he had lived, he would always have that sort of feeling whenever he met Mo Sang. At that moment, there was another cry of surprise among the discussions and commotion in the field. He's moving. Just when is he going to stop? Look, 168 steps, 172, 179. This speed, he seems to be slower than before. This should be his last charge. I say he'll only reach 200 steps at most, nothing more. That's about it. I think the 190s would already be very difficult for him now. This is night time, after all. The higher he climbs, the stronger the pressure will be. Numerous pairs of eyes were focused on the ranks on the various eagle statues amidst the sounds of discussion. Some of those gazes were cold, some disdainful, some expectant, some admiring, and some filled with jealousy. At that moment, Su Ming's entire body was surrounded by moonlight as he continued walking forward one step at a time on the stairway. As he walked, the 53 blood veins on his body let out a brilliant red glow. As he pressed onwards, the 54th blood vein also manifested suddenly. The 55th, 56th, 57th blood vein also appeared simultaneously soon after the 54th, causing the blood-red glow on Su Ming's body to become stronger. It filled his body with a powerful force that seemed ready to erupt. Su Ming growled and took another big step forwards onto the 186th step. Once he did so, the banging sounds that signaled the increase of blood veins reverberated once again through his body. That sound made by Su frown on the other mist-covered stairway. It also made Chen Chong, who was listening carefully, grit his teeth, hoping and wishing fervently that his body would make the same sounds. 189, 192, 199, 200. The ranks on the eagle statues in the field changed once again. First, Yi Wang, 600 steps. Second, Bai Su, 397 steps. Third, Chen Chong, 391 steps. 48th, Bei Ling, 206 steps. 49th, Sai Kong, 201 steps. 50th, Mo Sang 1, 200 steps. Chapter 59, Unimpeded. 50th, Mo Su, 200 steps. The faces of all people who saw that one line on the ranks shown on the eagle statues changed. The previous looks of disdain, scorn, or even amusement were completely gone like the wind. No one treated Mo Su as an entertainment for them to spend their time anymore. They had just witnessed a miracle and saw something unbelievable happening before their own eyes. This person made it from the last into the hundreds, then to the 50th place. There were even some in the field who were in disbelief to what they just saw. They did not imagine that such an incident could occur. Mo Su even did this while everyone was not moving, and he pushed forward from the last place to the top 50 ranks. He even did all this during midnight. This was too shocking, hence most of the people in the field had already ignored the striking results in the top 10 ranks, neglected by Su, who was in second place, and had all their attention drawn to Mo Su's name. Just how far can he go? He'll definitely make it to the top 30. I don't think so. He seemed to not have enough energy during the last charge. But no matter what, if he can enter the top 50, then it means he's very powerful. The sounds of discussions continued like waves and did not stop. The night should have been quiet, but at that moment, it was impossible for the spectators to remain silent when they had just seen something they had never seen before. In fact, the field was even livelier than during the day. Su Ming made it to the 50th place, and all eyes were on him, no matter whether it were the hundreds of people on the field, or the participants of the test who were also in the mountain. While those who were below the top 50 were angry that he suddenly surpassed them, they were also filled with respect. As for those within the top 50, they were all staring at the plates within their hands and looking at Su Ming's rank. To them, Su Ming had just become a threat. The threat may yet not be great, but nonetheless, they started placing some importance to his existence. As for those in the top 20 and above, they did not place much importance on him. However, the ones who were the most anxious at that moment would definitely be Sai Kong and Bei Ling. One of them was placed 49th, and the other 48th. That person who suddenly made it to the top 50 was like a thorn in their side. It was especially so for Sai Kong, whose face was pale at that moment. He clenched his fist. He was the son of the tribe leader of Dark Dragon Tribe. He had gritted his teeth and made it to this rank after much difficulty. He had felt prideful for his achievements, but as of now, his heart was racing against his chest. Don't go up. Don't go up. Don't go up. He was screaming in his heart while he stared at the rank shown on the plate with bloodshot eyes. On a stairway located further away, Bei Ling stood up. He was also extremely nervous. He widened his eyes and stared at the plate, but did not scream in his heart like Sai Kong. Instead, he gritted his teeth and turned, walking towards the 207th step. As most of the people were staring at the plate, Su Ming stood at the 200th step and took a deep breath. The persistence in his eyes was as hard as steel. On his body, all 58 blood veins were shining brightly. If there was no mist covering them, then the light would have definitely shone with dazzling brilliance, and even those far away would be able to see it. Yet now, due to the presence of the mist, everything was hidden away deep within the mountain. Su Ming felt a strong power blossoming within his body. He lifted his head and then looked at the night sky and the moon through the thin layer of mist above him. He did not know why, but ever since he started training in the fire Berserker art, he fell in love with the night. He did not hate the day, per se, but he no longer looked forwards to it. Among all those living on the land, who will be able to see the end of the horizon? Su Ming mumbled under his breath as he stared at the dark sky. There was a brilliant flash in his eyes that disappeared as soon as it appeared. If no one was looking into his eyes closely, they would not have discovered it. Su Ming lifted his right foot and went forward once more. He stepped onto the 201st step and the 202nd step. The moment his feet landed, Sai Kong, who was on a stairway further away from him, stood up with a vicious look and roared towards the sky, then moved forward in a frenzy. He watched with his own eyes as his own ranking fell from 49 to 50. It was just a difference in one place, but that was akin to the difference between heaven and earth. It made Sai Kong, prideful as he was, unable to accept it. If he had been overtaken since a long time ago, he would not have minded it, but once he had managed to get into an advantageous position from the start and then had his position suddenly taken, he found it hard to accept. He gritted his teeth and walked forward step by step as he growled lowly under the incredible pressure caused by the moon on the mountain with a vicious look on his face. At the same moment, Bei Ling also moved. Their actions were like a butterfly effect. The people placed 47th, 46th, and 45th also could not hold still any longer and stood up, unwilling to give up. All of them began walking once more. Once they started moving, it was as if the few hundred people in the field were given a powerful medicine that made them excited. The sounds of discussion were like the endless waves in the sea. Sai Kong's moving. 202, 203. He stopped. Bei Ling won't stay still anymore either. 207, 208, 210. Interesting, with Mo Su getting into the top 50, the rankings are now thrown into chaos. There's bound to be a person who'll fall out of the top 50. If that's the case, then they'll definitely be nervous. The moment the discussions became louder, a sudden silence fell upon them. The sounds of speaking turned into the sounds of sharp intakes of breath. All of their gazes were focused on the one name climbing madly up the ranks. Even the old woman from Dark Dragon Tribe, who was never interested in the ranks, opened her eyes and stared at the name on the eagle statue beside her jumping up the ranks. She looked calm. If there was any change in her thoughts, other people would find it hard to detect. However, the tribe leader of Black Mountain Tribe still did not look at the ranks. 49th, Mo Su, 205 steps. 46th, Mo Su, 213 steps. 42nd, Mo Su, 221 steps. 39th, Mo Su, 232 steps. 37th, Mo Su, 239 steps. 34th, Mo Su, 247 steps. Sai Kong stared at the ranks on the plate in his hand. His entire face was pale while his body trembled. It was as if he lost all his strength and fell to the ground. He gritted his teeth, but it turned into a sense of helplessness. He only managed to take 2 steps and could no longer bear the pressure brought about by the night. He had to stop. Bei Ling's face was bitter as he also gave up on continuing. He did not have any more strength to move. The pressure of the night was not something he could withstand. The others also stopped. As they looked at the shocking sight of Mo Su going from the 50th place to the 34th place, a sense of powerlessness arose within them. Su Ming stood at the 247th step. That was not even half of the mountain. Compared to the seemingly endless stairway, he was only a small distance up the stairs. Even so, even if it was just a small distance, as he stood there, it was as if he was standing in midair. There was no wind where he was, and due to the mist surrounding him, it was difficult for him to see the world outside. Yet as Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the moon, he felt as if it was now closer to him. Su Ming took in a deep breath and lifted his foot once again to land on the 248th step. The moment he stood there, the blood veins in his body increased once again, and it rose from 58 blood veins to 59 blood veins. Su Ming lowered his head and looked at the blood veins on his body. There was a smile on his lips. He could clearly feel the similar balance on the 248th step, just like in the previous 2 places. The sky was still dark. There was still some time before daylight, but Su Ming gave up on moving onwards. He sat down with his legs crossed on the 248th step and closed his eyes. He immersed himself within the circulation of his qi and began controlling it with finesse. Due to the increase in his blood veins, the difficulty in fine control had also increased. Yet Su Ming was not anxious. He did not want to give up on this sort of a rare chance. Besides, the purpose of the elder telling him the 6 numbers was for him to treasure the chance in the first place. When Su Ming went into meditation to control the speed of the circulation of qi in his body, time passed by slowly. Once the participants who were in the later 30 seconds saw the final result, their uncertainty gradually turned into contemplation. As for those before the 34th place, they began to relax from their anxiety. Those within the field were filled with different theories and expectations once Su Ming stopped once again. Just who is he? Which tribe does he belong to? Why did he choose to move at night? Why did he stop once he reached 34th place? Is he tired, or does he have another plan? Can he maintain his rank, or will he fall out of the top 50, or will he get into the top 30, and even the top 20? Could he perhaps get into the top 10? Numerous questions appeared within the hearts of the people in the field. As the sounds of discussion gradually died down, they buried their queries in their hearts and waited for the moment they would obtain their answer. There were also quite a number of them who did not think highly of Su Ming. They believed that Su Ming would stop moving soon. More importantly, as daylight was about to arrive and the others would start moving once again, Su Ming's rank would fall. Yet no matter what, even those who did not expect too much from Su Ming had to admit that Mo Su's name brought about a change during that night. Due to that, his name would be remembered forever by all the people. In fact, even after many years had passed, they would still remember it. That night, Mo Su's brilliance was greater than the people's in the top 10 ranks, and it could even be said that it was greater than Yi Wang's. It was destined that Mo Su's name would be taken into account occasionally even when day arrived. No matter what the spectators' thoughts were, most of them held some form of expectation towards that name. Mo Sang was still smiling as he looked at Su Ming's rank. He might not know how and why Su Ming changed during the night, but he understood that everyone had their own secrets. As his elder and guardian, there were times where he did not have to know everything about his protégé, but would have to protect him. Do you believe what I said now? For the first time since he came to this place, Mo Sang took the initiative to speak to Jing Nan. Jing Nan's face was calm as usual, but when he looked at the rankings, he frowned slightly. He became even more uncertain towards what Mo Sang said about Su Ming's birth. The night slowly passed by. The field sank into a peaceful silence. Almost everyone became quiet due to the different thoughts occupying their minds. Yet their gazes would still occasionally wander to the eagle statues and stay on the line belonging to Mo Su. After a long while, the first rays of light brightened up the horizon. A new day had arrived. Chapter 60. A shocking move. It was the second day of the first stage of the test. The moment the first rays of sunlight arrived, some of the pressure on the black misted mountain, where the ancients sealed the strange beast, left. The moment it returned to normal, Yi Wang was the first to move. He opened his eyes calmly and got up before moving towards the 601st step. He had no idea what happened last night. To him, who had always been prideful, there was no need to look at the plate. He still believed that there was no one who could become his opponent. The only person who could compete with him was himself. Yi Wang walked pridefully one step at a time up the stairs. He had a resolve. He must make it to the 900th step this time during the first stage of the test this time. He could still remember clearly that the final step he took last time was when he was in the 800s. He had been exhausted and was unable to move any longer. When he had to finally give up, he lifted his head and seemed to see a strange stone statue at the summit of the mountain far away. It was a pity, however, because he could not see the statue clearly due to the distance between them. Nonetheless, that one glance alone made Yi Wang become persistent. His pride and extraordinary talent would not let him rest. He would see that summit that no one has ever seen before. He longed to stand there and look down towards the people beneath him. He was prideful, and he continued walking further up the stairs within the mist in his fire-like clothes. He might not have looked at the rankings, but he knew that he was in the first place. Chen Chong was gritting his teeth as he continued mumbling under his breath and climbing upwards with all his strength. He might be panting harshly, but he did not stop to rest. Instead, he would occasionally look at the plate in his hands to check Bai Su's rank. Bai Su was still higher than him by 3 steps. Both of them seemed to have made rivals of each other and were constantly competing against each other. In truth, this had already happened since yesterday, and Chen Chong absolutely refused to resign himself to losing. "You bastard! Choose either to walk faster and widen our distance so that I won't be bothered so much, or slow down a few steps. Aren't you tired? Well, if you're tired, I'm tired too." Chen Chong was drenched in sweat. It may be daytime, but he, who was currently in the 400s, could feel the pressure from the mountain beginning to suffocate him. Fatigue rushed forward through his entire body like a tidal wave. Bai Su was also panting harshly. He may have rested for an entire night, but as he continued climbing upwards, and the pressure continued increasing, the arrogance within his heart was gradually stifled. It was especially so when he saw Yi Wang, who remained in first place, walking steadily up the stairs in the 600s. It made a bit of respect grown in him towards the man. Without the desire to compete for first place any longer, he started directing his attention towards Chen Chong, wanting to win against him. To him, his opponent was only Chen Chong. Once he completely overcame this person, even if he lost first place to Yi Wang, his name would ring throughout all the tribes around the region. Especially since the elder was now. Bai Su smiled coldly. There was a hint of yearning and fantasizing within his eyes. Wu Sen's face was pale. He may have rested for an entire night, but his condition did not become better. As time continued trickling by, the weakness brought by the loss of the blood of corpses from his body began revealing itself. His face was dark as he continued walking forwards. He would occasionally look at the ranks in the plate and at Bai Su, who was ranked second. There was a look of discontent on his face. He was still ranked 12th, but Wu Sen knew that he no longer had any hope to enter into the top 10. The people before him were usually no match for him in the tribe, but now, Wu Sen sighed. Compared to them, Su Ming was much calmer. He did not continue climbing up the mountain but was sitting cross-legged on the 249th step, controlling the speed of the qi circulating in his body to a profound state. He was using every ounce of his abilities and the balanced pressure in this place to limit the increase and decrease of his blood veins to only one at a time. To him, exercising fine control was very interesting. This was the same to him as when he was quenching herbs, but this time, his body was the cauldron, the qi in his body was the flames, and his body was the herbs. He would control the strength of the fire and refine his body. As time passed by, the hundreds of people in the field outside looked at the ranks on the eagle statues and started talking among themselves again. There's no doubt that Yi Wang will be in the first place. He's in the 600 natis, no one can catch up to him. The second and third place are definitely Chen Chong and Bai Su. Look at them, those two are chasing after each other. I'm pretty sure they're competing against one another. It's a pity for Wu Senator, I wonder what happened to him. I just can't understand it. It's a pity for Mo Su too. It's already noon, but he hasn't moved at all. Now his rank has been overtaken multiple times, and he's at the 47th place. As they were discussing among themselves, one name ranked in the 100s suddenly glowed with a grey light on the 9 eagle statues. As it flickered, the name turned grey. The sudden change immediately caught the crowd's attention, but they were not surprised. Someone gave up. Since the past, a huge number of abdicators will appear on the second day of the first stage of the test. They no longer have any strength to continue onwards and can no longer withstand the pressure in the mountain. If they don't leave, then they will face the danger of their blood pressure increasing. The air suddenly twisted, soon followed by a wisp of mist coming from the mountain towards the field. Once it disappeared, a young man around 20 years of age staggered and almost fell onto the ground with a pale face. It was clear that he was forcefully transported out. It was as if he felt uncomfortable with the gazes of the people on him. He lowered his head and quickly went to his tribe located in the distance. He sat down quietly with disappointment. The number of people who gave up like him increased in the afternoon. The names that turned grey, and the black mist that transported the people out of the mountain from the twisted space became the spectators' main attraction on the second day. The people who gave up would mostly sigh in disappointment and return to their tribes. There were quite a number of them who came from Windstream tribe. Those ranked in the 100s have all given up. Hey, look. By tonight, all those ranked below the top 50 will give up, and by midnight, there'll also be a number of people who will give up. After all, even if they don't move forward during midnight, they won't be able to resist the incredible pressure in their exhausted state. Every single time during the first stage of the test, the rankings are not the only entertainment. Looking at the people who gave up is also a form of entertainment. Isn't it? It's especially so for those who got a pretty good ranking and gave up. Those looks of anxiety and fear that someone else will overtake them are really interesting. Just as the sounds of discussion echoed in the air, a person's face suddenly lit up in excitement as he looked at an eagle statue. Su moved. The moment the words were spoken, it immediately caught almost everyone's attention. Numerous eyes fell upon the statues and on the line that belonged to Su Ming. Su Ming opened his eyes. After spending half the day exercising fine control, the blood veins in his body had reduced to 21, and he could no longer continue decreasing the number. Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the stairs shrouded by mist before him. He slowly stood up. He did not know that he was under the scrutiny of a lot of people. As of then, he only had two thoughts in his mind. Besides using this place to exercise fine control and train, he also did not want to let the elder down. I'll do my absolute best and give it my best shot. Su Ming was, after all, still a teenager. He had a teenager's spirit and determination. There was a flash in his eyes before he took a quick one step forward and landed on the 249th step. An incredibly strong amount of pressure pressed against him, causing Su Ming to tremble. What great pressure! Su Ming's face was pale. He felt as if there was a ferocious mythical creature roaring towards him down the stairs. Su Ming's eyes were firm. As the pressure came forth, he activated and circulated the qi in his body until all 59 blood veins appeared, then he rushed forward. 251, 255, 258. Su Ming took a deep breath and continued taking 20-something steps. When he stood at the 270th step, only then did he exhale slowly. There was sweat beading on his forehead. Without the help of the moonlight, walking on the stairs during the day to Su Ming was more draining. Yet the more it was so, the more firm he was in his resolution. More importantly, as the pressure increased on his body and lashed against the 59 blood veins on him, it made Su Ming feel as if his blood veins were about to increase once again. He knew that this was all due to him being able to discover the secret of the 6 numbers and continuing to exercise fine control over the circulation of his qi. Because of this, not only did he gain precise control over his qi, the potential within him was also forced out due to the fine control. It was especially so since the elder used the true awakening on him and Su Ming obtained a drop of Berserker blood from him. Those gifts given to him by the elder were truly absorbed into himself once he practiced fine control multiple times on the mountain and was aided by the pressure as he continued climbing upwards. Su Ming gritted his teeth once more and continued moving forwards quickly. Muffled booming sounds echoed within his body as he continued moving ahead, and the 60th blood vein immediately manifested on his body. 61 blood veins, 62 blood veins. The moment Su Ming landed onto the 301st step, the 67th blood vein manifested itself with an explosive force on his body. The 67 blood veins surrounded Su Ming's entire body and made him feel as if he had an unlimited amount of energy. He may be drenched in sweat, but the unwavering determination in his eyes became even stronger. Su Ming did not know the amount of shock he brought onto the hundreds of people in the field the moment he moved from the 248th step to the 301st step. The tribe leader of Black Mountain tribe looked towards the statue abruptly. There was a rare serious look on his face. 60 steps again. When that Mosu doesn't move, he's unassuming, but the moment he does, he shocks the world. Ha ha. I was waiting for him to move all this while. He didn't let me down. Mosu, get into the top 30. Even better, get into the top 10. He didn't move for the entire day. Even if he did now, he's only placed 36th, unlike yesterday. There were hints of jealousy within the voice of the person who was pretending to be speaking in disdain among the sounds of discussion. That person who spoke suddenly widened his eyes and swallowed down the words he was just about to speak. Chapters 56 through 60 conclude with Su Ming navigating a complex web of alliances and betrayals, emerging with a firmer grip on his goal but with an ever-growing target on his back. The path of the Berserker is defined by tragedy, and the pursuit of the truth now demands he make sacrifices on a grander scale. Thank you for listening to this intricate segment of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. How do you think the ancient artifact will change his cultivation method? Let us know in the comments. Join us next time for the next episode, as the cosmic truth edges closer to revelation. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic saga.